And to you, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. For those in the room who do not know me, my name is Manuel Barroso, and in my capacity as President of the New Zealand Europe Business Council, I'm going to be guiding you through the whole procedure today. I will shortly invite His Worship Mayor of Auckland, Manuel Barroso, to officially welcome our guests to Auckland. Following this, you'll be served your main, and I can see you're all munching into your entrees, which is brilliant because we must keep on time. And you will actually be served European wines today, just for a change. Once the main meal is completed, I will invite the President to address the audience, and if time allows, he has agreed to answer a few questions before he leaves.
His Excellency, President Jose Manuel Barroso, hola, and welcome to our beautiful city of Auckland. I want to acknowledge the Honourable Dr. Wayne Mapp, the Honourable Dr. Jonathan Coleman, the Honourable Georgina de Hiohio, the Honourable Misa Telefoni, the Honourable Dr. Peter Watson, the Honourable Jim McLean, Excellencies and representatives of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, councillors, local board members from the Auckland community, distinguished guests, and in particular, our hosts of the New Zealand Europe Business Council. Welcome to you all here to this wonderful occasion, to our very distinguished guests. And I understand, Excellency, that you are even more distinguished now, and you have just received an honorary doctorate from my alma mater, Auckland University, a doctorate in law. You want to put your hands together for His Excellency.
Kia ora, good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to join you today, not only here in this beautiful, impressive city, but also in the context of the Pacific Island Forum and on the eve of the Rugby World Cup. As Mayor of Auckland rightly said, what a great occasion for positioning even stronger New Zealand and Auckland in the world. In 2011, the world has once again looked to New Zealand with admiration. Of course, we in Europe will never forget the contribution the NZEBC have made to peace and freedom on our continent. And in more recent times, we have come to admire the egalitarian, environmental, entrepreneurial face of the Kiwis. From our restaurants to our cinema screens, there can hardly be a European that has not appreciated what New Zealand is capable of. But the grit, resilience, and passion that have enabled you to bounce back from Christchurch earthquakes shows us this island in a new light. With that sort of approach to life and work, it is right that I come today with a message that the European Union wants to do business with you. New Zealand is amongst the nations whose policies and outlooks most closely reflect our own Europe. Not only that, we are, as was just mentioned, your third largest trading partner, after Australia and China, but let's say it as well, ahead of the United States and Japan. And through making this visit, I wish to convey that the European Union wants to stay a top-tier partner, to play a meaningful part in Europe's future and the region's future. What impresses me most about New Zealand is the level of ambition and adaptability that you bring to the challenges of globalization. New Zealand is physically distant from other developed economies, yet through waves of reform, you have, fittingly, managed to climb the economic Everest. It is quite a feat to be ranked in the top 5 in the world in not one, but 5 of the 9 categories of the World Bank's annual Doing Business report. And it is hard not to notice the impact New Zealanders have had on important global bodies in recent years. Mike Moore at the World Trade Organization, Helen Clark now at the United Nations Development Programme are just 2 to spring to mind. More than that, we have managed to diversify and increase the competitiveness of your agricultural sector. As an example, efficient forward-looking agriculture, there are few rivals to New Zealand. The days of heavy agricultural subsidies and other global trade barriers could have created a negative spiral for New Zealand, but instead you focus on innovation. Instead of more subsidies, you created new markets for premium agricultural products and pursue agreements from the CER agreement with Australia to the Trans-Pacific Partnership that embrace the possibilities of the global economy. Not so long ago, your experts used to target very few countries, especially dependent on the United Kingdom. Now they encompass the whole world. You have gone from dependence to interdependence and independence thanks to your leadership in trade liberalization. I want to make this point clear because sometimes I believe in terms of media, some of the problems are exaggerated. We have difficult situations in some of our member states. We should have no complacency about this. But the euro, somehow the euro remains a very stable, credible currency. It's the second largest currency in the world, and in fact its value has been going up since its creation. Why? Because we have a very credible monetary policy with an independent central bank. Because overall, the European Union has a good balance of payments support, balance of payments position overall. Overall, the debt of the euro area is much less important than the debt of some of our main partners, including the United States and Japan, for instance. What we have, and we have to be frank about this, is a sovereign debt crisis in some members that, since we had no instruments before, creates problems inside a monetary union. So we have a monetary union, but we have not really a full economic union. We have 17 countries in the same currency. That's why many things were created and are in the process of being created to respond to these new challenges. We have created now a fund. We are in the process of creating a fund, European Stability Mechanism, which capital will be larger than IMF. And we are now creating more flexibility for the instruments we have already in place. It can be, it means that that instrument, that we have this facility or mechanism at European level for financial stability, will be able to intervene in the secondary market, will be able to have precautionary activities, will be able to recapitalize directly banks. And this should not be underestimated what has been achieved. And the debate in Europe, as I said today, except the debate coming from very, let's say, extremist forces, putting in question the European Union and so on, they exist as well. But the debate among the main political parties, from the center right to the center left to the center, and the main stakeholders, from Germany to Greece, from Finland to France, from, all the countries, is how are we going to deepen integration? So far, I have not yet, and I can't tell you because the Commission is dependent from member states. In my context with all the member states of the European Union, all the leaders, from Chancellor Merkel to Prime Minister Papandreou, I have never seen one suggestion to go back in European integration. The only thing is how can we create more union among the member states of the European Union. And recently, Chancellor Merkel and President Sarkozy, for instance, have been speaking about what in France we say gouvernement économique, so European economic governance stronger in the area. And I believe that is going to be the trend. Once again proving that the pessimists are wrong. And why I'm saying this? Not because of my passion or my confidence in Europe, but because the markets are demanding it. It's important to understand that today the markets themselves are putting a price on the lack of integration in some areas of the euro area, in some domains of the euro area. They are asking for a more integrated governance. So the trend will be this one. There is a debate, a very clear debate in Europe. Some are proposing to go faster, some are proposing to be more or less ambitious, but there are no doubts, I want to tell you, about the need to go further in terms of ensuring the future of Europe. Chancellor Merkel just yesterday made once again very clear statements on that direction. And I mentioned Chancellor Merkel because Germany is, as you know, the biggest economy of the Eurozone, and there's of course a very special role in all this process. So this is the message I want to convey to you, and very sincerely, because sometimes I believe today there is what I call the intellectual flavor of pessimism. Some people want to show they are more intelligent, playing the Cassandra. It happens sometimes. There are some cycles also in the financial market, but also in politics. We have this kind of cycle. So actual determination, I have no doubt, in the euro area, not only from the European institutions, but the government states, but once again, we are democracies. We have to, our public has to support these measures. And that's why sometimes it takes time to have the necessary support in our own parliaments. And that's the process in which we are. But I can tell you the population in Europe, generally speaking, has been supporting and will support the euro, also because the euro is linked with the single market. And the single market of Europe is the greatest guarantee for prosperity in Europe. That single market of 500 million people that no one, including those countries that are not members of the euro area, typically Britain, very important economy, not a member of the euro area, but of course has no interest at all, on the contrary, on seeing any kind of difficulties for the single market. So the euro area member states and those outside the euro area are very much committed to the financial stability in the Eurozone, and I'm sure that they will find ways to overcome the difficulties. So the countries that are most vulnerable, they are taking important measures, very courageous sometimes, in terms of fiscal consolidation, structural reform, and of course the countries that have more means, let's put it, the richer countries, they also understand the need to sustain the financial stability in the Eurozone and beyond. And this is, I think, what's going to happen.